Well, guys, after weeks of speculation, a character has come back with a vengeance, and shit is definitely about to go down for said vengeance. Hey guys, Cameron for Game of Thrones Season 6, Episode 7, The Broken Man, and obviously I was definitely looking forward to this episode, definitely really been enjoying the season, as you guys know, and this episode was another amazing episode. I mean, we had some great returns this episode, there were a lot of highlights here, a lot of big stuff is happening, definitely a lot gearing up for the final 3 episodes of the season, which of course, unfortunately, I won't be able to watch next week's episode live because of the Tony Awards, which I'll get into after this video, but let's just get into this episode. There's a lot to talk about, and a really welcome return as well. Like I said, there was a big return here, and the end of the episode implies this definitely is not a good thing. I love the way the episode started, though, because this is one of those rare times where we had a prelude to the intro, which never really happens, but whenever it happens, it's usually really important, and it is very important. We see a group of men are building a structure while a group of women prepare food. They're being led and organized by a man with a 7-pointed star around his neck. A man struggles to carry a large log to the building site. He turns around to reveal it is none other than the Hound. Remember the Hound, the person that was with Arya and that Arya abandoned and that got into that huge fight with Brienne. He's not dead, we see. The Hound is definitely not dead. We cut to credits and then return to see the Hound chopping wood. The ringleader comments that he's never seen a man swing and acts like the Hound does, and we knew we'd see the Hound eventually, but, you know, they kind of made us think he's dead. He's not dead, though. I liked we found that out. And he wonders what kind of men could have cut the Hound down, and last when the Hound reveals that it was a woman, which, of course, it was Brienne, so we're not really surprised, but back then, obviously, it was kind of pathetic. But we know how much of a badass Brienne really is, so the group breaks for a meal, and also we know that Tormund finds that really sexy, so there's that as well. So the group breaks down for a meal, and the Hound takes his alone, which is kind of sad. He's all alone. The leader joins, remarks that the man seem afraid of him. He recalls finding the Hound in the road, believing he was days dead already, and the leader asks who kept the Hound going. The Hound says that it was hate, but the leader believes that the gods aren't done with Sandor Clegane, and Sandor wonders why the gods haven't punished him if they're real, and the leader says that they have, and it's really sad, because honestly, you do want things to kind of go well for the Hound. You don't want, and the Hound's kind of all alone right now, but in many ways you do understand why. I mean, he did get his ass kicked. You don't mess with Brienne. You definitely do see that here, and I definitely did like seeing that. That was a good introduction to the Hound. I like seeing him again, a good reintroduction to the Hound. I definitely like seeing that. That was a very good way to start things out. So as we know, last week, Marjorie was surprisingly set free, and there's a big part of this episode that deals with that. I definitely really did enjoy that. She's reading from the Book of the Mother, and the High Sparrow finds her there, and she quotes from the book, and I'm like, oh no, he's gonna try to manipulate her, because we know obviously what the High Sparrow wanted her to do with Loras. She didn't do it. I thought that the High Sparrow was going to try to negotiate things with her, and basically he recalls how she used to act to help the poor but never really loved them. The High Sparrow brings up that the king mentioned she hasn't joined him in bed since her release, which is really interesting considering that's her husband, and he reminds her that the king must have an heir if they are to continue their good work, which honestly, yeah, I mean, he's not wrong. That's kind of just how it's supposed to go. The king needs an heir, and he says Marjorie has made great progress. He hopes her grandmother will do the same. He calls her an unrepentant sinner and says that he worries for her safety, and basically that if she's not going to give, you know, the king what he wants, then she should very, very much be worried. So she meets with Olenna in the company of the Sept. I think this is the first time we've seen Olenna all season, which I think is awesome because I always really like Olenna's character. But the High Sparrow will only set Loras free if he repents and lives his life as a penitent, forsaking name and title, which obviously he doesn't want to do. He wants to be himself, but of course he can't be himself because, like I said, homosexuals were not allowed back then, and she encourages Olenna to leave and slips something into her hand where the Septa can't see. Olenna agrees to leave, but says she's seen Marjorie before, and Olenna unrolls the paper, and Marjorie slipped into her hand to reveal a rose, the sigil of their house, which is very interesting. I like the way that was done. I like the way that Marjorie seems like she has something else up her sleeve. You can definitely tell. You don't really know what she has up her sleeve, but definitely she's going to make sure that she gets her way and that she's not going to let the High Sparrow control her, which again really goes to that theme of this season, that the women are the ones in control, and I think it's really cool the way they're doing that. I really do enjoy that, and it's really adding a lot to this season. The women are the ones in control. I really do enjoy that overall, and yeah, so that was really good. So the free folk don't believe that Jon's fight is theirs. We do get to see Jon and Sansa again in this episode, which is good, because I said that's probably my favorite storyline right now. Jon warns them, though, that if he falls, the Karstarks, Umbers, and Boltons will come for them. So Tormund speaks for Jon, reminding that the free folk that Jon literally died for them, and they'd be cowards if they didn't stand behind him, because obviously, you know, Jon's the one that's fought for them, and they need to stand behind him. If not, they're just complete cowards. And 1-1 stands, declares himself for Jon. The other free folk follow his lead, and it seems like Tormund was able to get them on his side, which is interesting. Obviously, they need to create an army right now, but we do know that Jon said he's not going to fight, and it does seem like Jon is going to fight now. It seems like, you know, despite him telling Sansa, oh, I'm not going to fight, it seems like she's been able to sway him over. It seems like he is going to fight, and I do like seeing that. So Cersei and the Mountain meet with Olenna. Cersei has heard that Olenna is leaving, because obviously Marjorie wanted to leave, and Olenna says it's none of Cersei's concern, which really it's not. I mean, Cersei really has no power over her, and that Cersei's stupidity is what got them into this situation. It's really, you know, like I said, King's Landing is not a very safe place right now, so it would make sense why she's leaving. So Cersei says she's right, but that they need each other right now, because, you know, Olenna's always the one to go to for advice, things like that, but Olenna doesn't really want to be that way. Olenna says that Cersei is among the worst people she's ever met. I love the way she called out Cersei here. I absolutely love that. I mean, it's very much what we got last year with The Gift, that amazing episode, which again was episode 7. But Olenna says she's leaving before the High Sparrow throws her into a cell, and that because she's worried she's going to go to jail, and that Cersei should do the same, reminding Cersei that she has no support anymore. Remember that Olenna's the one that killed Joffrey. We remember that she's the one that killed Joffrey. She's never fessed up to it, but I think she's kind of worried that that secret is going to come out, and that's why she's leaving. But also the fact that she wants nothing to do with Cersei, and that Cersei should leave too, because Cersei is obviously in danger. Cersei's gone through a lot of shit, and she's going to go to prison as well. So Cersei really has no support anymore. Even though there's the fact that Marjorie was released, Cersei still is not liked by really anyone because of what she did, which is completely understandable. I mean, when you do something like the Red Wedding, and that's basically you're the cause of that, you can't really get forgiven for that. I mean, a lot of people died that day, and you really can't be forgiven for something like that, and I can totally understand. And I'm glad that, you know, we're reminded of that, because that is the main reason of what's going on there. I definitely really did enjoy that. I thought there was some really good stuff there. By the way, there was no Bran in this episode, surprisingly. That was the only character that wasn't here. Bran was not in this episode at all, but other than that, you know, I still, like I said, really did enjoy this episode regardless. But I do like that the Cersei stuff came out, and Olenna even reminds her, you know, people died that day. The Robb Stark, people really love Robb Stark, you know, his wife and everything. Catelyn Stark died as well. A lot of people died, and it was all the cause of her, and I think that's something that she doesn't really want to remember, but again, I've liked that Cersei has acknowledged that she's a bad person. I generally do feel bad for her, because again, no one should really have to go through what Cersei is going through. Even someone as bad as Cersei should not have to go through something like that. So I do honestly feel bad for her, but at the same time, I think she's getting what's coming to her, and I definitely do like seeing that, and I think definitely she should follow suit with Leolina. Leolina's leaving. Jaime's now left, as we know. I think it's gonna only be a matter of time before Cersei follows suit. So speaking of Jaime, a big question we had last week is, what was Jaime actually going to do? Was he going to try to kill the High Sparrow? Was he going to stay with Cersei? Or was he going to do what Edmure wanted him to do? Well, we see right away he is, in fact, riding to Riverrun with Bronn on his side and an army at his back. And Bronn comments that the siege looks pathetic. And Jaime promises to make Bronn his right-hand man once he takes control of the Lannisters' forces laying siege. And as they get closer, they find the phrase threatening to hang Edmure Tully if the Blackfish doesn't yield Riverrun. The Blackfish just stares down at them silently. Lothar Frey takes the rope off of Edmure's neck, puts a dagger to it instead. It's a really interesting scene. I honestly was like, are they going to kill Edmure here? And the Blackfish tells him to go on, cut Edmure's throat, walks away, and the Freys back down. Jaime tells them to have Edmure bathed and fed and takes command of the siege. And the way that Jaime just took control of the situation, that was really interesting. It really just showed how powerful Jaime's become. And Bronn being giving orders, the Freys begin to protest but are easily quelled. Jaime tells Bronn to get word to the Blackfish that he wants to parlay and that he basically fixed this entire situation. So I love the way that was done. They definitely did need Jaime, and Jaime definitely did make the right choice. So Jon, Sansa, and Davos meet with the young Lyanna Mormont at Bear Island, and she's literally a little girl. It was a very interesting scene. She's a little girl here. They try to make small talk, but Lyanna has little patience for it, and Jon makes his plea for House Mormont's allegiance, and Lyanna is advised by her maester. She points out that Jon is a Snow, and that Sansa is neither a Bolton or Lannister, but Sansa is a Stark who only did what she had to survive, which is true. She did what she's done to survive. Lyanna wants to know why she should sacrifice one more Mormont life for someone else's war. Because obviously, it's very risky what they're doing. And Davos speaks up saying he understands how Lyanna feels. Neither of them even thought they'd be in the positions they are in, but he says this isn't someone else's war. It's in fact their war. And it is. It really is their war. They're the ones that have had this coming to them. Ever since the Red Wedding, I think the Starks have always been at war since then. This is their war. This is their war to win. It's their battle to fight. And Davos tells Lyanna that the true war is between the living and the dead, which is true. That's really the war that's coming, is the whites versus everyone else. And Jon tells her that Jaor fought the dead at the fist of the first man. Davos says divided north will surely fall. The maester leans in, but Lyanna silences him. Lyanna says that House Mormont will not break faith with House Stark today. Lyanna offers all of 62 fighting men, and the fact that all of these men, I thought was really crazy, but the way that was done, I definitely really did enjoy. Really good stuff there, and I do like the way they were able to assuage her, because it didn't really seem like it was going to work, but it did work, and they were able to get her, so I like the way that was done. Really good stuff there, and seems like very slowly they are getting this army that they want, which I'm very happy about, because I was hesitant on where they actually going to get this army, and it seems like they are. I'm happy to see that, and definitely really good stuff here. So Jaime then rides up to Riverrun's drawbridge, and the Blackfish comes out to meet him, and the Blackfish wonders if Jaime has fulfilled the vow he made to Catelyn, but Jaime says that he does not have Sansa or Arya, but Jaime offers the Blackfish a chance to surrender and spare his men. Now, I don't know what the vow was, because like I said, I didn't see seasons 1 and 2, I only saw 3 through 6, so I don't know what he said. I guess he said that he would have Sansa and Arya, but basically the Blackfish says the war isn't over until as long as he stands. He refuses Jaime's offer, and very interesting. He says he wants to spare his men, but he's not going to do that. The Blackfish is going to continue doing what he's doing, which makes sense. I mean, obviously Blackfish is very pro-Stark, and he's very anti-Lannister. Why? Because the Lannisters killed so many of the Starks, and it makes sense. I mean, he thought that Jaime would be loyal, that he would give him these Starks. He clearly has not done that. If anything, that's been Brienne's job to do that. Jaime hasn't really taken that offer at all, so I am wondering if Jaime might have to be in that position where he's going to go have to find the Starks, and that'll be very interesting direction if that's what happens, if Jaime actually does end up going on Jon and Sansa's side, but I feel like that's what's going to end up happening, that he's going to have to go to them, because the Blackfish is not going to spare his men unless he gets on the Stark side, which I feel like is really what he wants him to do. We'll have to see what happens there, but I think that's overall really interesting. So Jon pleads with the Glovers, but the Glovers remind Jon that it was the Boltons who helped them take their castle back from the Ironborn. Lord Glover asks who is in this army, and Jon tells him House Mormont, but mostly Wildings. Glover sends him away. Sansa reminds Lord Glover that his house is sworn to House Stark. Glover angrily reminds Sansa that his brother answered Robb's call to war, then reminds Sansa that Robb was a foreigner when the Ironborn took their castle. He says House Stark is dead, that it's no longer a thing. The Starks died when the Red Wedding happened, and that's kind of true. I mean, the Starks all went on their own, as we know. The Starks used to be together, but ever since then, they've all gone on their own. Sansa and Jon is the only reunion we've had since then, and, Arya's still out on her own. Most of the Starks are on their own, which is, it's true. He's not wrong about that. So I thought that was very interesting. So then we see Theon and Yara's fleet is in port. Yara's enjoying the company of a woman, but Theon just seems kind of nervous. We see Yara is sure that Euron will come for them. She tries to remind Theon of who he is, Ironborn, and that she's tired of watching him cower like a beaten dog. She promises him that though they will get their revenge, and she tells him to kill himself if he's too broken to ever come back, which you can tell obviously why Theon is this way. I mean, think of all the damage he went through, what Ramsay did to him. I like that Yar's trying to tell him you can move on from what Ramsay did to you. You are not, you are not just Reek, you are a lot more than that. And I like that Theon kind of has PTSD. I mean, it's not really PTSD, but that's kind of what it is. He can't really move on from what, he did to him. I think it's a very interesting situation. I really do like the way it's playing out. It's one of probably the most compelling things they've done with Theon. If I remember correctly, Theon was not a very liked character until what happened with Reek. This has made us care about him a lot more. Otherwise, her plan is to make a pact with Daenerys and take back the Iron Island. So Theon says he's with him, and that's what's going to end up happening, is that she's going to go with Daenerys and everything. So I think that's overall really interesting if she's actually going to ally with Daenerys, which we did not see Daenerys in this episode, surprisingly. I was surprised because a lot of these episodes, they've been very Daenerys-centric lately, and this one was barely had Daenerys at all, so I thought that was really interesting. But I do like where we're headed with Theon. Like I said, it does seem like he's going to try to maybe, hopefully get his strength back. I don't know if he's going to. We'll have to see what happens with that, but that's overall going to be really interesting. So Jon's army is encamped in the mountains, which is less than they hoped it would be, unfortunately, but at least they do have somewhat of an army, just not nearly as big as they think, which again kind of makes me think that Jaime and his army are going to go to them just so he can, make sure his men are spared. But Davos says that they still have a chance, that they're careful and smart, because really, I mean, while there might only be a significant few of them, they're very smart, and they're very, they have very good tactics. Then they might be able to take them down. And after Davos walks away, Sansa insists that they need more men. Obviously, there just isn't enough, but Jon is determined to fight with the men they have, saying that there isn't time. And I mean, think about it, Jon led the Watch, and there weren't many people in the Watch, if you remember. There were a good amount, but it wasn't like, 200 something. It was only like 20 something. And basically, Sansa says they need more, but they really don't have much time. And Sansa then sends a raven, signed as Sansa Stark and sealed with House Stark's sigil. So clearly she wants to find more men. She's not giving up. And again, that's something I'm loving about Sansa, is her perseverance, the fact she's never giving up. She's very brave to do this. And the fact that she's not going to let anyone tell her what to do. It's a new welcome plot development. I love what they've done for Sansa, and it's really adding to how much I love her character. I've always really liked Sansa, but especially this season, I think this is probably Sansa's strongest season yet, just because of how brave and reckless that she kind of is. I mean, this is a very interesting situation. The way she's playing out, I think, is overall really compelling. So back with the Hounds group, the leader's telling a story of how he used to be a soldier. He recalls the terrible things that he did. He recalls the shame he felt after murdering a young boy while the boy's mother screamed. It's a very sad story. He says it's never too late to stop hurting people and start helping them. 3 men then ride up to the group. The men claim to be protecting the people, and one asks if the group has horses or food. The leader welcomes them for supper. One of the men told the group to stay safe, but then rides off, and later the Hound is chopping wood when the Septon finds him, and the Hound warns him that those people were with the Brotherhood and that they'll be back for whatever they can get. And basically, you can tell the Hound really doesn't trust who he's with, and he only really trusts the Septon, so I think that's overall really interesting, because these men really don't want to help him at all. He feels very alone, but I did like that scene, though, of hearing about, what this young boy did, of everything, after he murdered this young boy. It's a sad scene to think about, but again, it makes you remember, what a soldier has to do. They have to do some things they're not okay with, things that don't really seem justified. Look at the movie American Sniper. That's what that whole movie's about, is that they had to do things that really weren't okay, and I'm not really comparing American Sniper to this. I mean, it's not really the analogy I'm trying to get here, but that's kind of what I thought of the scene. I'm like, this is kind of like American Sniper. It's like a medieval American Sniper in that scene, so I thought that was definitely very interesting. So Arya walks through the streets of Braavos. She books passage to Westeros, then leaves at dawn, then looks at the Titan of Braavos. An old woman walks up behind her, suddenly stabs her. She tears off her face to reveal the waif, and Arya fights back, plunges into water. She only comes back up after the waif leaves. She walks through the street, wet and bleeding out from her guts, and next week's episode is called No One, and the real question is Arya really becoming No One? Because we know that she isn't No One. She is, in fact, a Stark. She'll never be No One, even if she wants to be, and I feel like this episode is implying that what Arya wants, she's never going to get, which is kind of sad, but I feel like it's what's going to happen. Now, what happened to her whole thing with Crane? I don't know. We kind of annexed that in this episode. I'm hoping that's not gone forever, because that was one of the most interesting plot points we had last week, so I'm hoping it's not gone, forever, but for me, I would have wanted to see a little bit more of that, because we didn't see any of that this week, so Arya's plot, I'm back to being confused on what's actually happening here, but, good stuff with Arya, but now I'm back to being confused. I still don't really know what's going on, but speaking of Arya, we then see the Hound. He's continuing gathering wood. He hears noise, returns to his encampment to find the Septon's flock murdered, and the Septon himself hung, and he grabs an axe, he walks away, and you know that he's definitely going to do something. He's probably going to go after most of, the people he's with. We don't know who hanged the Septon, but someone definitely hanged him. Perfect way in the episode. That is how it ends, but now let's get more into this episode. So overall, guys, another great episode. I will admit this was a little bit slower than usual, and I wasn't 100% focused on this episode because I was doing something else. That's something else you will see tomorrow night. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but there's something I'm doing in my school. Probably going to post, what I do tomorrow night. You guys will see that, but that's what I was doing. I was doing two things at once. I didn't get a chance to really focus on this episode, but I really did enjoy it overall. I thought there was some very good stuff here. Let's talk about the Hound, because I don't really know what the Hound is going to do. Who murdered the Septon? What is he going to do? Who is he going after? We don't really know, but definitely he's going after. He has a vengeance, and he's definitely going after them. As far as Arya goes, is she going to realize the Hound's alive? Because we know, of course, how dangerous the Hound was and that she sent him away. So what's going to happen there? Is she going to get back with the Hound? I'm not really sure. I think that's overall going to be really interesting. And is Arya, can she really be no one? Because I know Arya really wants to be no one, but she's not no one. Like I said, she's a Stark, and she'll always be a Stark, and that'll always be a part of her. So is she really, no one? I don't think she is. We'll have to see where that goes. That's going to be very interesting as well. I don't really know. Again, like I said, I don't really know where her storyline is headed. Probably the most interesting stuff in this episode for me, again, was Jon. I really do love where Jon and Sansa's storyline is headed. The fact they don't have enough men. And the fact that now Jaime is being told that basically, by... he was told specifically by the Blackfish that the war isn't over until as long as he stands. I'm thinking that he's going to try to go to Sansa and Jon's army and basically try to join them. I think that might be the best thing for him to do because he'll be loyal to them. He'll show loyalty. The Blackfish, like I said, is clearly pro-Stark. He wants to ally with the Starks, and if he sees he's allied with the Starks, he might spare Jaime and his men. We'll have to see what happens with that. I mean, maybe not, but that's kind of where it seems like it's going for me. I mean, you can never predict what's going to happen in Game of Thrones, especially this season, because nothing is based off a book or anything. So I don't really know, but I feel like that's where we're headed. As far as Theon and Yara go, I think it's a very interesting development. Can Theon really move past what Ramsay did to him? I feel like he wants to, but at the same time, it's kind of hard for him to do. I mean, how do you really come back from that? It is very hard when you're someone's slave for so long and then suddenly you're not. It's something that Theon clearly isn't used to, and he doesn't really know if he really is meant to, fight and everything. I think it's very interesting overall the way that that's playing out. And is Yara really going to be able to make this pact with Daenerys? Is that really going to go the way she wants to? Like I said, I mean, Daenerys wants power regardless, and we'll have to see where that goes. Cersei. Is Cersei going to leave with Olenna? I think it's the best thing if she does, because obviously it's not really safe for her anymore. So, is she going to leave? I don't really know. And as far as Marjorie goes, is she going to listen to what the High Sparrow says? Well, let's see what happens with that. That's going to be very interesting as well, if she's really going to listen to High Sparrow, what he's telling her to do. I don't really know what's going to happen there. I think overall, that whole situation is very interesting. I don't really know where that's going. But overall, guys, really good episode. Definitely really did enjoy it. Like I said, I wasn't as focused on it as I wanted to be, but I still really did enjoy this episode. A lot of storylines we didn't see here, though. We didn't see Tyrion in this episode. Once again, we did not see Tyrion. We didn't see Daenerys at all in this episode. We didn't see Bran in this episode. I'm sure we'll see them again before the season ends, because we have 3 episodes left, which I can't believe we have 3 episodes left, but we do. But overall, guys, I know what you guys saw this episode. Love to your thoughts on it. I absolutely really did, like I said, really did enjoy this episode. Not my favorite or anything, but I definitely did enjoy it. And I will see you guys in my next video, which will be for tonight's episode of Preacher, which I cannot wait for. The first episode was fantastic. I'm hoping the second episode just as great, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.